All right, so next up, we're going to talk about, and this is rather related somewhat to the last topic that we touched on. So, Donald Trump was compared to Tupac by his attorney. For anyone who doesn't know, one of the most polarizing individuals in human history, Donald Trump, was recently indicted in New York City on some felony charges of something. I don't know. Um, but so it's in the news. A lot of people are talking about it. He was in court, and he's out, he's free. He's not like in jail or nothing like that. But he's been indicted, and his attorney recently compared him to Tupac, saying that this is only going to increase his cachet with his constituency. So we'll go ahead and play this for any background knowledge for those who aren't privy to this particular story. So this also is from TMZ. It says Donald Trump getting compared to Tupac. Rapper sister calls it utter blasphemy. Donald Trump's attorney drawing a parallel between the former president and the legendary Tupac Shakur does not sit well with the late rapper's sister, who says the comparison is absurd and laughable. Set Shakur, Tupac's sister, tells TMZ, quote, "My brother was measured by his integrity, his principles, and personal and collective responsibility," end quote, calling the recent comments made by Trump's attorney, Alina Habba, blasphemous. She points out her brother took responsibility during his 1994 sexual abuse trial and says she isn't seeing a whole lot of accountability coming from Donald Trump. As we reported, Trump's attorney made the connection on the same day he flew to New York City for his indictment. She said his legal trouble is going to boost his poll numbers, just like Tupac's record sales went up after spending time in prison. Set says Tupac didn't get popular because of his lockup, though, instead claiming his popularity grew because those who listened to his music, quote, were able to measure him by his words and actions that aligned. She goes on to praise her late brother, calling him an honorable man who stood for those needing protection, always having others on his mind. She believes Donald Trump's attorney might be invoking Tupac's name as a ploy to play to the rapper's fans, and she's hoping they don't take the bait. So this link is also in the description of this video, so y'all can go ahead and read more on that for yourself. But yeah, so Trump's attorney, this woman named Alina Habba, compared Trump to Tupac, saying that his indictment is only going to increase his cachet. And Tupac's sister don't like it. She says that's blasphemous because Trump has no integrity and Tupac had all the integrity in the world. So, what do you make of this ordeal?
I think that's pretty fair. I highly doubt that this lawyer, when she's talking to her constituents behind closed doors, she makes references to Tupac Shakur. So the part in that article that said that they call foul on this one because they believe that they're trying to reach out to a certain demographic. I believe that, yeah, I think they played that card pretty well because this, I don't know why this sentence is getting headlines outside of the fact that they wanted it to. So, just in the sense of not comparing it, because it wasn't an apples to apples thing. It was just more or less like, hey, your boy locked up. Don't y'all like people that come out of jail? And it's like, yeah, we do. So, and it's still, so yeah, so it's going to be a free Trump thing going. I'm sure, you know, uh, the rest in peace to Pimp C, but the free Pimp C movement was probably one of the strongest, if not the strongest, that I've ever witnessed when it came to a rapper. There was other people, but the Pimp C
Meek
one was,
Mills was pretty strong too.
Meek was actually pretty strong too. That was, and
Yeah,
that was with the social media wave. That's what made
yeah,
that dumber. Yeah, it was
yeah.
the Meek. And after he got out, it was such a drama. So yeah, you're right. So yeah, those two are the like up there. One A, one B. You know, respectively for each time. It's like Kareem versus Shaq. But yeah, fair enough. So, but nevertheless, it's one of those things where, yeah, black people, we do like us a good prison story. They give us one every time on Stars. I think that's the network where everything's about prison or jail or drugs. So black people love their crime. So, and I'm being facetious, by the way, people. And so, whenever they are delivering stuff to us, they talk to us in language we understand, and that's crime. I'm not saying Tupac's a criminal. I'm saying jail. So for that part, again, so that part of the article to call it out and say that they were probably trying to reach out, that was kind of a sub thing that I was kind of thinking. But for them to scratch on that, I agree.
Yeah.
And but of course, it's not a apples to apples situation. I don't think they were really saying that he's like Tupac. I mean, how could they? Um, but we'll see. But you alluded to earlier in the last conversation where you were saying that how can you vote Democrat now? I mean, what?
You mean Republican?
No,
You mean
I'm
how
talking
can you
about
vote?
black people. Black people are like, how can you vote liberal? Put it that way. How can you vote liberal when you said that either you're a conservative or you're voting for your child to be transgender or get transgender indoctrination in school? Is like, so what choice? Because if you sign over there, that's what's happening.
I see. Well, we've talked about this. This is another topic. This is a conversation for a different video. But we've said before, black people are such slaves to the DNC that they throw all of that out. It doesn't matter. They'll vote liberal because black people vote liberal because we've been
By default.
brainwashed to believe that everything with the DNC is what's right for us. So yeah, liberal may mean transgender and no marriages and no families, but it also means not the bad guy. It also means not Republican. So we'll
Boy,
still
I've
vote
heard
liberal
that. Yeah.
because we're slaves to the DNC.
Not fair. And I also say that because you're right, but and what point was I making? Um, oh yeah, that there's still it's still a large amount though of black people going more conservative nowadays because of because they're done with black people too. They're done with y'all. They don't need y'all anymore. If there's a shooting or a cop kills somebody or something like, they'll step in. But they're done with black people. They went to women. I told you they're done with gay people too. They done jumped all the way to trans and all this other stuff. They just keep hopping, and accumulating social assets. Oh, you're oppressed. Hey, you're oppressed. Oh yeah, you're oppressed. Hey, we're gonna take money from those people and we're gonna just give it all to you. Then once you finally start making money in your life, then you realize they're taxing all of that shit from your ass. Then you say, hey, wait, 30% of my income? Oh yeah, we're just gonna take that shit. Well, where is it going? Taxes. Whoa. Y'all ain't tax me like that when I worked at Walmart. Why y'all taxing me like this now? It's like, well, you making too much money, sir. I ain't making shit. I ain't making nothing. Well, you're making more than a guy from Walmart. So it's just like, you can't win with this stuff. So when are the people going to realize that this whole thing is a racket? It's all a show. Trump is a hell of an actor. All right. And I'll get into that later. I'll let you go. But Trump is a hell of an actor. He plays into the conservative role very well. And there's still so many people that believe in him because of his acting skills. I'll leave it at that. But how about you, sir? What do you feel about this entire situation? Do you believe that Donald Trump is actually close and comparative to Mr. Tupac Shakur?
I think both of them are right. I think Pac's sister is fine that she don't like the comparison. I can respect that. That's fine. But I also think that Trump's attorney is right. See, here's the thing, and this is what happens when you effectively decide as a society that you are going to bracket ideologies into buckets of right and wrong instead of just different. So conservatism is wrong, traditionalism is wrong, and liberalism is right and good. And because there's such a heavy groundswell for support on the side of right, because who wants to be wrong? We have to be on the right side of history and be righteous, right? So because of this, there's a need for people who don't think that way to cling to something and champion something that is trying to retain some semblance of what we believe is just different but not necessarily right or wrong, which is what most reasonable conservative leaning traditional people are. Like, are there people on the fringes who are on that bigotry stuff and that racism stuff and all of that other stuff? Yeah, but those people are on the fringes. The majority of the people are reasonable people. I don't care what anybody says. Like, I know that you live in your silo on the internet and you want to think that the world is out to get you, but that's not true. Most people in this world are just reasonable people who want to live good lives and make money and take trips and run a household and go on vacation and take their kids to basketball camp and go to work and go to church. That's the majority of people. And I'm not even breaking that down along racial lines or culture, age. I'm not even going that far. I'm just saying that that's just humans in general. That's where people are. And so people who are looking at a lot of this stuff and getting frustrated because they're saying, why do I have to pick a right and wrong side? Why can't I just be on the side of this is what I think and let the chips fall where they may? They need something to be able to cling to, because otherwise their whole way of life is being eradicated right before their very eyes. Now, unfortunately, because this is an act job and it is a racket, Trump, for better or for worse, has emerged as the individual that a lot of people can sort of cling to and say, at least this dude is fighting for some of the stuff that I care about.
Yeah.
Is he a bit wild and crazy and wildly coyote and out there and kooky? Should he be the president per se? Perhaps not necessarily,
But he's the
but
only thing
what's
we
the
got.
alternative?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
What
Yeah.
what 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 am I going to do at this point? Because
Mhm.
I'm not a fan of a lot of this stuff that they're trying to force down my gullet. I'm not a fan, and this is why to me this sort of relates to the Kid Rock thing. Because why am I, as a private citizen, supposed to be inviting or want the idea that my child can choose whatever gender they want? What if I don't want that? What if I don't want that? That makes me a bad person? I don't necessarily think that makes me a bad person. I'm not saying that if you want your child to choose their gender, that you're a bad person. You raise your family how I want, and I'll raise my family how I want. And we'll let the chips fall where they may and meet in the middle. I think that's where the majority, I think that that's a lot of people feel like that, but they don't have a mouthpiece to speak for them. And so Donald Trump has filled that void to speak for them in that regard. And so because he has people who are willing to align with him as their champion, if Donald Trump goes to jail, his cachet will get increased if he gets on. Let's not even say he goes. Let's say he doesn't go to prison. Let's just say he's indicted. He goes to court, and there's this huge, high-profile court trick case, this trial, and it's played out all over the media and all of this kind of stuff. And the media is running with it, and there's all these interviews and all of that kind of stuff on OJ levels or Michael Jackson levels in terms of criminal trials, right? His stock with his people is going to increase
Oh yeah.
because they're going to feel like their champion is being lynched. They're going to feel like their champion is being victimized by the lynch mob, by the hyper liberal lynch mob, and they're going to be like, free Trump,
The
just like
deep
we was
state.
talking. Yeah, just like we was talking about free Meek, free Pimp C. Max B got a 75-year prison sentence. It's still people out here saying free Max B.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So just like we do that stuff, you're gonna have people saying free Trump.
Oh
And the
yeah.
reason why is because we have allowed ideologies to be grouped into buckets of right and wrong as opposed to simply different, disagreeable. And so this is what you get. Like, we have no one to blame for this dynamic but ourselves. If you want to look at why Donald Trump was able to ascend the way that he did, it's because of this. It's because somewhere along the way we decided being liberal minded was the good thing to do and being conservative minded is the bad thing to do. Literally good and bad. As in, like if I go out and shoot somebody, I'm bad. We can all agree that that's the bad thing to do, and not shooting somebody is the good thing to do, the righteous thing to do. To a lot of people out here, being liberal versus being conservative and traditional is the same sort of cut and dry, good versus bad yield. And that's why people look at Trump and they say he's my guy, even though he's really not for you, because none of these people are for you.
You're
But
right.
no one, this is all about identity politics. It ceased
Right.
to be about actual policy
Right.
years ago.
Yeah.
It ceased to be about actual policy forever ago. Forever ago. It hasn't been about actual policy probably since 2004 with Bush. That's probably the point where this ceased to be about policy and became all about identity and all about symbolism and ideals.
Well, it
No
started with
one
the it started with Obama at that point. Then at that point, because
Well, the reason why I say it started with Bush, even
mm,
before Obama, is
mm,
because when the whole Bush thing was going down, and the whole war with Iraq and the 9/11 stuff, and all of that stuff, people were like, calling, and then there were the stories about who did what and what caused it really. So I kind of feel like policy went out the window at that point,
I
and it
got
just became about get the bad guy out of here.
you. Hmm.
And so now, ever since then, it's become good guy, bad guy. So if a president has if there's a presidential candidate who has an ironclad plan to get us out of the deficit, keep us away from war, and put the country back into a surplus with the economy, they'll vote that. They won't vote. People will vote against that guy, and they'll vote for the guy who's for, I don't know, same-sex bathrooms and transgender athletes.
That's right.
They'll vote for that guy, and they won't vote for the guy who's going to take us out of the abyss in terms of the economy and keep us out of war. The stuff that's most important, honestly. But that's what this is now. It ceased to be about policy forever ago, and it's all about identity. And so, because it's all about identity, and there's a discernible right and wrong, people are holding on to Trump. And if Trump goes through this, it is going to be reminiscent of what happens when these rappers get out. I mean, go in or go through ordeals like this. His cachet is going to increase. He's going to become more popular with the people who embolden him. And it is what it is. I see it. I know where it's coming from, but this ain't about Trump per se, and it's more about this weirdo socio-political climate that we have going on in this country that is only getting worse and worse. It's not getting better. So I get it. I get the comparison, and I think both are right. The lawyer is right. He is going to get more. His cachet is going to increase. His profile will improve. The only way that it won't is if he's actually sent to prison. And even then, I wouldn't put it past people. Even then, if he goes to prison, I wouldn't necessarily put it past the idea that he becomes even popular in jail. I wouldn't put it past it. I honestly wouldn't, because this is the world that we live in now. But in terms of what he's going through here and how that can improve what he's trying to do in terms of go for president again and get more people to his side, yeah, 100%. I see it. I think it's completely valid. His lawyer is 100% on the money.
Yeah, I agree. And you were spot on when you were talking about the because that's what I was alluding to about him acting. He's just up there just portraying conservatism, conservative views. Does he believe these things? Yeah, he do. That's why he just says what he thinks.
Yeah, right.
So he believes this stuff. So he's not technically acting. The act is that he's president of the United States.
100%. Yep.
So he was acting. He wasn't making any moves or calls. I can't stand when people say, "See, that's what Trump did." Trump didn't do anything. You think one person in command of all of this stuff, all these hands and all that money in these pots, you think they're gonna let one man make one decision like that? No. So and even though this country is being literally ran into a ditch, goddamn jackknife and about to catch on fire. To me, I scream it's intentional, but at the same time, the country's still running. So I put it this way: I wouldn't let Joe Biden run the president of a YMCA basketball league. He would fuck that up. Referees wouldn't get paid. Can't find his pants. It's going to be a mess.
Oh
So there's people out there that's a lot more competent than him. That if you put him and the whoever the competent person is, much more competent than Joe, knows about politics, knows about everything. But you say you're president of the United States and you make the decisions that everybody thinks the president actually makes. The president doesn't really make all those decisions. Other people are making things for him. Is there the briefing guy to tell him what's going on in the country? Yeah, he ain't making no decisions. So, but if you really think it's like on TV where the president's really sitting in there in his Oval Office, really contemplating, and it makes a life-changing decision to change all of America, they don't do that. These things are slow roll through legislation and all kinds of things, slow drip that be going through previous administrations. It got picked up in this administration. It got filibustered or whatever over there. Then it's over here. And then finally, the 3 presidents later or 3 terms later, it's finally getting passed, bipartisan. And then everybody gets screwed. They took your rights, they took this, and they took that. All the while, people sitting there playing identity politics at the water cooler. Yeah, I vote MAGA, man. Oh, yeah, you vote MAGA? Great for you, sir. You say, I vote MAGA because, the conservatives, them liberals, they're crazy. And it's like, those liberals are crazy. But guess what? Even if you got whoever you think is the most best conservative person that's actual presidential candidate, not some guy at your lodge, the actual person that's a presidential candidate that they put in office that was selected, not elected, then that guy's not going to do anything that you want him to do anyway. He's going to do whatever the agenda calls for to make sure you're in the right place at the right time. And right now, I got to tell you, all the decay of America is intentional. And that happens through politics, through education. You know how many people want kids to actually learn? Just people, not the government. You know how many everyday people want their kids to be better? But the overall entities that's making sure that we're staying healthy, educated, and all these things are decaying. So why wouldn't the people decay? Somebody had made a joke on social media, said you might as well call it anti-social media. And honestly, people are actually developing the clinical versions of being antisocial.
Absolutely.
And so this stuff is actually having an impact. And so everything that they push now on all of these apps is identity politics, all these ultra liberal social justice warrior garbage, because all these apps are all in cahoots with each other. So that's how you can have a transgendered man on a beer can. The funniest thing I would ever see probably is a super ultra conservative man, in the back of his pickup with his Confederate flag. Hey, toss me a cold one, he says. His friend grabs a beer randomly out the cooler and throws it to his buddy. He cracks it open and starts sipping on it. Next thing you know, there's a transgendered man staring right at him, winking and saying, how's it going, big boy? That conservative man is going to lose his shit on the back of that truck. And that would be the funniest shit ever, man. But hey, man, be that as it may, Trump, he was a good actor. It was a good show. I enjoyed it when he was in office. It was a lot better than the Biden show. The Biden show is filled with gaffes and you laughing at him, about to fall off the stairs. But that gets old quick, Trump was witty. He had good humor and he was always in the news. So I'm not saying that I would vote for him, but hey, man, who had a better TV show? Who had better ratings? Trump all day, man. All day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the majority of the meat off the bone. I just do think that there is a Robin Hood element. Part of me appreciates Trump because he's not my guy per se.
Mm-hmm.
However, I appreciate the fact that it's just like with Kid Rock and Carano, people like this. I appreciate the fact that he is unapologetically not hyper liberal. I do appreciate that, and he will express it as, such. And I personally understand the groundswell of support in his favor.
Oh
It
yeah.
has more. It's bigger. It has more than what people typically talk about when they want to throw stuff out there like racism and white supremacy and all of these other things. It's more than that. It has a lot to do with the trajectory of 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 our collective ideals and some of the stuff that we believe in and think about and talk about. And so I kind of get this. There's a Robin Hood aspect to him where he is oddly enough perceived in many circles as a man of the people, or a man trying to take the situation back from the abyss.
It's a
He's
good
trying to
role.
bring it back from the brink of catastrophe.
It's a good
Like,
role.
that's whether you think that that's the case or not, that's how it's perceived,
Yeah.
is that he's trying to bring it back from the brink of catastrophe. And whether, I'm not necessarily championing him or saying that he is the person who's going to do that, but do I think that this whole thing is headed to catastrophe? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
So whether you
Okay.
think he's the right guy for the job or not, some of the reins on this stuff needs to be pulled back a little bit. It truly does. And people kind of identify with him as somebody who's at least making an effort to pull the reins back. So, it is what it is. But I do think that his popularity with those who believe in him will increase the more he continues to go through this legal process. The best thing that can happen for everyone who thinks that he is the bane of all existence is for this thing to be quick and over, is for this thing to be over quick, fast, and in a hurry. Because the longer he goes through this challenge, if it ends up going to trial and all of this kind of stuff, the longer this whole indictment and all of this stuff, the longer that this festers, the more galvanized his, I don't want to, well, fan base. It is a fan base because he is
Yeah.
an actor. He is a representation of something. So the more his fan base is going to root and clamor for his release and for him to get back to doing what he does best, which is saving us all. That's what it is. That's what it
We don't
is.
know.
So yeah, I think his attorney is right. And I think that if you want to see people like Donald Trump become less powerful, uh, a lot of us need to take a look in the mirror and reevaluate how much we think about how some of our ideals and some of the stuff that we care about is just right and 100% on the money, and how being conservative and traditional is so bad and wrong. Because the more dogmatic you become about conservative people and conservatism in general, the more powerful you make people like Donald Trump.
Yep, agreed. 100. And last thing I'll say is just to piggyback off that is, yeah, I mean, if you are already, one party or the other, on the fringe or indifferent, yeah, my personal opinion uh, is take care of yourself. Make sure, when there's housing market crashes and recessions and things, hey man, my bills are still due. I still got my job, a budget, and I make it work. Take care of yourself. All the stuff on the news, whoever's in office, things are happening against everybody's will right now. Nobody's happy, liberal or conservative. Everybody's getting screwed. So instead of dividing yourself, I would just say, if you do agree with any of this stuff or whatever, still just make sure you take care of yourself and your family and stuff like that, and don't let this stuff, you know, uh, run your life.
Yeah.
You should run your own life, because honestly, whatever they're talking about on stage or whatever racist thing they may come out in their mouth and say that day, your bills are still due, and your family still loves you and needs you. So make sure you just take care of that and let these clowns stay on the clown show. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree, man. Yeah, I say it often and I'll say it again here, man. Y'all need to think for yourself. People need to think for themselves. We're not a monolith. Stop being a group thinker. Stop thinking that because you spend so much time on Instagram and TikTok and you watch stars and FX and all of this other stuff, that you have to be 100% on board with all of this stuff. Like if you believe in certain ideals and themes and certain viewpoints and ways of life that are more on the, traditional side, and there's something unsettling about, you know something that's not that, it's okay. It's not that you're right, but it's also not that you're wrong too. It's just opposing viewpoints and disagreeable. Stop thinking about everything in terms of good, bad, right, and wrong. Because the more you look at life like that, through that kind of microscopic lens, where it's like this is right and this is wrong and I need to be on the side of righteousness, therefore I'm going to force myself to believe in this stuff. The more you think that way, the more you're going to give power to people who you claim to hate, people like Donald Trump. So just, take a second and, reevaluate some of that stuff. Because, Dogon is 100% correct. There are things happening to you at the moment that are working against you, and these things are being done by the people who you claim to support or who you do
Right.
support.
Right.
So just, think for yourself, man, and make independent decisions. Don't do something because something's trending on Instagram. Um, and get rid of your OnlyFans subscription too.
The hell with
Oh, you
OnlyFans.
throw that in there. But on that note, man, we are going to go ahead and close it out. Appreciate everybody for tuning in to tonight's live stream, man. Another Conscious Approach video on the YouTube channel in the books. Shouts out to somebody who was tuning in on the channel saying unite, not divide. We concur with that. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. As always, continue to support the Conscious Approach channel. If you have not done so, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Join the tribe as we continue to pump out this content on a weekly and daily basis. Check out the website, consciousapproach.com. Also, check us out on Instagram at ConApproach, CONAPPROACH. Let us know what you think about what we had to say tonight, man. Leave a comment. We do pay attention to comments. We respond so long as they are not of the troll variety. Also, check out the Conscious Approach on the Meta page. If you happen to be watching this video on the Meta page, Facebook, whatever you want to call it, go ahead and follow the page, like the page, share the video, leave a comment there as well. Just continue to, let us know what you think about what we're doing over here in this little corner of the internet. My name is JV Wins. You can find me on Instagram at JV Wins, JVWINS. Also, be on the lookout for Conscious Approach on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Pandora, or wherever else you get your podcast fix. We're going to start uploading the audio feeds of all of our episodes very soon, so please be on the lookout for that. Otherwise, please continue to support logical content. I appreciate you joining us here, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video.
Yep. And the name is Dogon SS. You can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS and on YouTube at Dogon_SS. And like I say on every pod, everybody, all right, don't be too high, don't be too low. Keep it calm, keep it chill, keep it play. All right, make sure nobody gets you off your pivot. All right, and until next time, guys, we'll catch y'all on the flip side.
Yes, sir, man. Y'all stay righteous out there, man. The right kind of righteous, though, not the wrong kind of righteous.
Exactly.
And until the next video, man, we'll see you later. We out. Peace.
Peace. Skirt.